Okay, now see, we will discuss about position vectors. Name itself telling a vector which gives the position. For example, when you take a plane, a two-dimensional system, say this is xy plane, there is a particle say at point A. From the origin, you can represent the position of the particle. How to represent the position of the particle in this xy two-dimensional plane means you have to draw just one straight line from the origin to the position of the particle. It is in a straight line, it has a particular direction and there is a gap between these two positions, so it gives some value also. So this is the vector which is representing the position of the particle in this plane. Such a type of vector which is representing the position of the particle in a plane or in a space is called as position vector, which gives just position of a particle in a plane or a space, right? Now consider symbol of position vector as a R. So position vector is indicating with the symbol R. Say this is vector R1. Now after some time you see that the position of the particle is changed from point A to point B. It got a new position. Now in the same plane, how to represent the new position of the particle? Same, just to draw one straight line from the origin to the position, new position of the particle by help of a vector. This is also called as position vector, say R2, which is giving the new position of the particle. So R1 and R2 are the position vectors which are giving the position of the particles in the plane. Now if you see, a particle is displaced now in the plane. From point A to point B, a particle is displaced. So this is the displacement of the particle. So you know, displacement is also a vector physical quantity. I am representing this displacement of the particle from position A to position B as a vector, displacement vector, indicating with the symbol say delta R vector, delta R vector. So delta R vector is the symbol which is used to represent the displacement vector of a particle from point A to point B. In the physics, symbol delta, a triangular symbol delta will be used to represent any change. Here position of the particle is changed. So change in the position of the particle in a particular direction is also can be called as a displacement. So this displacement is representing with the help of a vector and it is called as a displacement vector, and it is representing with a delta R vector, right? Now totally how much displacement was taken place from point A to point B, which means how much displacement was happened here, that is equals to final position minus initial position, R2 minus R1. So final position vector minus initial position vector, R2 minus R1 gives you the change in position of the particle in this plane. So displacement vector is equals to the difference of position vectors here, R2 and R1. So this is about position vector which gives just position of the particle in a plane. Now come to the zero vector. Zero vector is also called as null vector. Zero vector is also called as a null vector. What is zero vector? Simple. It's a vector which has zero magnitude. Zero magnitude. Value of this vector must be equals to 0. So the vector which has zero value or zero magnitude is called as a zero vector or a null vector. For example, if you take my position, see now, I am not moving anywhere. So my initial velocity is equals to 0. Time is going on, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, time is going on, but position of the body is not changing. So if anyone asks you what is your initial velocity, what I say? My initial velocity is equals to 0. My starting velocity or initial velocity is representing with the symbol u, which is equals to 0 because my velocity is not changing. I am at 0 velocity because I am at a rest. But if the same velocity if you represent in the form of vectors, why? velocity. Velocity is also one of the vector. So if you take your initial velocity in the vector form, you will say that initial velocity vector. What is your initial velocity vector? Its value is equals to 0, but this 0 also should be represented in the form of a vector. So initial vector of my body is equals to 0 vector. So the vector whose magnitude, vector is representing with arrow. So the vector whose magnitude value is always equals to 0. Such vectors are called as a null vectors or a 0 vectors, right? But vector means direction. We need to discuss about direction. Here initial